matchup, and here we go.
So far, Jon is...
He's just a natural.
Jones, our Armenia's victories come the same way.
Jones, fight.
Looks like he's trying to finish it here.
Remarkable creativity in the cage.
He is the future.
He's trying to damage these people. His team.
Pouring now out of his face, and he hit it again.
Jon Jones remains.
Huge.
Nice trip.
Jon Jones returned.
What happens when you combine elite technique, raw athleticism, and a mind built for combat? You get Jon Jones, a fighter who didn't just dominate the light heavyweight division, he redefined it. His knockouts weren't just wins, they were statements. His name remains etched in UFC history as one of the most dangerous and skilled mixed martial artists ever to step into the octagon. But how did he do it? How did a young fighter from Rochester, New York, rise to become the most feared champion in MMA history? And why do his knockouts still send chills down the spine of fight fans today? Let's dive into the incredible knockout legacy of Jon "Bones" Jones, the man who turned precision, power, and creativity into an art form inside the cage. Early life, the rise of a champion. Born Jonathan Dwight Jones on July 19, 1987 in Rochester, New York, Jon Jones grew up in a family of elite athletes. His two brothers, Chandler and Arthur, went on to play in the NFL. But Jon found his true calling in combat sports. Initially a high school wrestler, Jones quickly made a name for himself, becoming a state champion before transitioning to mixed martial arts. His wrestling background gave him a strong foundation, but it was his ability to absorb and implement new techniques that set him apart from his peers. Jones's entry into professional MMA was nothing short of meteoric. He debuted in 2008 and quickly racked up a series of dominant victories. With an unorthodox style, incredible reach, and a fighting IQ beyond his years, it was clear that Jones was destined for greatness. In 2011, at just 23 years old, he became the youngest champion in UFC history after dismantling Mauricio "Shogun" Rua to claim the light heavyweight title. But it wasn't just his wrestling or submissions that made him special. It was his ability to finish fights with devastating knockouts. The knockouts that shaped a legend. Jon Jones wasn't just a grappling specialist. He possessed knockout power in his strikes, and his ability to mix up attacks made him unpredictable. Some of his most memorable finishes include Brandon Vera, 2010. Jones introduced himself as a true force with a crushing elbow that fractured Vera's orbital bone, proving his ground. And Pound was second to none. Ryan Bader, 2011. Although this fight ended in a submission, the dominance Jones displayed in his striking leading up to it showed the world he was championship material. Mauricio "Shogun" Rua, 2011. Facing a legend for the title, Jones overwhelmed Shogun with his striking before finishing him with a brutal knee and punches. The victory made him the youngest champion in UFC history. Lyoto Machida, 2011. Jones displayed his technical brilliance in this fight, setting up a standing guillotine after a calculated striking approach. While not a knockout, the way Machida collapsed to the canvas was a chilling reminder of Jones's ability to end fights in different ways. Vitor Belfort, 2012. Though the fight ended with a submission, Jones's elbows and striking from the top position were ruthless, leaving Belfort unable to mount any offense. Alexander Gustafsson, 2013. In one of the greatest fights in UFC history, Jones showed his durability and striking power, nearly finishing Gustafsson with elbows and punches in the later rounds. Daniel Cormier, 2017. This was one of Jones' most satisfying victories. After years of rivalry, Jones landed a devastating head kick that wobbled Cormier, leading to a brutal ground-and-pound finish that cemented his status as the division's king. Alexander Gustafsson, 2018, rematch. Jones left no doubt in their second meeting, dismantling Gustafsson with precision before finishing him on the ground to reclaim his title. The dominance and the controversies. Jones's ability to finish fights made him a fan favorite, but his career was not without controversy. From suspensions to out-of-cage incidents, his legacy is one of both brilliance and turbulence. However, one thing remains undeniable: his ability to end fights in spectacular fashion. His diverse arsenal of spinning elbows, devastating knees, precise head kicks, and brutal ground and pound made him one of the most complete fighters in MMA history. Even when he wasn't knocking opponents out, he was systematically breaking them down with his striking, fight IQ, and unrelenting pressure. His ability to measure distance, predict his opponent's movements, and exploit weaknesses with surgical precision made him an enigma inside the Octagon. Despite facing adversity outside the cage, Jones continuously proved his dominance when it mattered most. His skill set evolved with each fight, incorporating new techniques and strategies that kept him ahead of the competition. Whether it was his lethal clinch game, his razor-sharp elbows, or his ability to switch between orthodox and unorthodox styles, Jones had every tool needed to remain untouchable. The legacy of Jon Jones. Jon Jones redefined what it meant to be a knockout artist in MMA. While he wasn't a traditional power puncher like Mike Tyson, his ability to dismantle opponents with a variety of strikes made him just as dangerous. His knockouts weren't just about brute force, they were about precision, timing, and a deep understanding of his opponent's weaknesses. Even today, his highlight reel of finishes remains one of the most impressive in combat sports history. Whether it was his devastating elbows, perfectly timed head kicks, or relentless ground and pound, Jon Bones Jones left a legacy of destruction inside the Octagon. Fighters study his techniques, aspiring champions look to emulate his success, and fans still marvel at his ability to dismantle some of the toughest competitors in the sport. Conclusion. Jon Jones wasn't just a fighter, he was a master of violence. His knockouts weren't just about power, they were about precision, strategy, and execution. From the youngest champion in UFC history to one of the most dominant fighters the sport has ever seen, Jones's ability to finish fights has secured his place among the greatest of all time. So, when you think of Jon Jones, don't just think of a champion. Think of a finisher, a tactician, and a knockout artist whose highlights will be studied and celebrated for generations to come. His impact on MMA will never be forgotten, and his legacy as one of the sport's most fearsome competitors remains intact.